What are the sad truth about the heart failure in general? A diagnosis of cancer breast is made, the family and clinicians both get devastated that a very dangerous disease has been diagnosed. But when a heart failure is diagnosed, by and large people are not that scared. Is it true? Well, the 5-year mortality of heart failure is more than 50%. What is the mortality of heart failure with breast cancer over 5 years? Just 11%. And a large number of those patients can be cured. Similar is the history with Hodgkin's lymphoma, where there is a mortality of only 50%, and few of the leukemias, lung cancer, colon cancer, etc., they carry much lower mortality over 5 years than the 5-year mortality of patients with heart failure. So one has to be very careful when they prognosticate a patient with heart failure. Believe me, the mortality of heart failure is very high. On top of that, heart failure is a progressive condition. Once it is diagnosed, over next 3 to 5 years or 7 years till mortality, there is a progressive worsening of heart failure, irrespective of whether the pathophysiology which started heart failure is there or not there. So once heart failure is there, heart failure begets heart failure, and on top of that, it is interspread with intercurrent acute worsenings of heart failure, and each acute worsening, particularly a severe one which requires hospitalization, brings down the mortality and morbidity risk, brings up the mortality and morbidity risk very significantly. Each heart failure hospitalization worsens the subsequent mortality very significantly. So that is the thing which you would always like to avoid. Heart failure patients are at a very significantly increased risk of mortality. The average survival after heart failure diagnosis is something like 2.6 years after first heart failure hospitalization, but after second heart failure hospitalization, the average survival drops to 1.8 years. After third one, 1.5, after fourth one, 1.3 years. So it is a negative spiral which ultimately leads to death. And 9 out of 10 heart failure, even with current heart failure therapy, still remains symptomatic, and 1/3 of the heart failure patients are at a high risk of hospitalization and a high risk of cardiovascular death.